At one point yesterday, I was just sitting back saying to myself, this speaker is doing magic tricks in my living room. I don't think I've ever experienced my music that way in here. These are the Wharfdale Super Linton. It's the next generation, the next iteration on the Wharfdale Linton series. And it's a speaker, the Linton, the original Linton, or at least the one that I have upstairs, is one of my favorite speakers, but for different reasons than I like most speakers. One of the coolest things now, before anybody gets upset, these are $2,500. Actually, they're on sale right now. You get a free pair of stands, and they're really nice stands. Let me show you. Most of the time, I don't get super excited about speaker stands, but these things are awesome. Made out of real metal. Not fake metal, real metal. Oof. One of the things I like about these stands, though, is they came assembled in a box. Legitimately, the only thing I had to do was pull them out of the box and put the speaker on top of them and put them where I wanted them. Anyway, these are on sale, or at least they're running a promo where you get the stands for free. $2,500. Now, before you get crazy and say, you're not the cheap audio man, this is the cheapest, one of the cheapest, maybe it is the cheapest, heritage three-way speaker besides the previous generation Linton, which can be had right now for about $1,500, I think, maybe with the stands too. I'll have to check that. But as far as I know, real wood, ouch, sorry, the duck, come here. Yeah, look at this guy. Easy, easy. Yeah, he's not so tough when he's on camera, is he? Anyway, I think this is the cheapest heritage three-way speaker made with real wood veneer. Okay, so I'm still the cheap audio man. Huge thank you to today's sponsor, Flexi Spots. Why do you need a standing desk? Well, you can just do a quick search and artificial intelligence will tell you why. Improved posture, reduced back pain, increased productivity, lower blood sugar? Really? Increased energy, better circulation, reduced health risk, helps prevent weight gain, and you get to choose how you work. This is the Flexi Spot E7 Pro desk. I love this thing. I shoot all of my videos on here. Sometimes when I have to do a product showcase, I put it on here and I raise this thing all the way up to chest height. This can be a work table. This can be your dining room table if you live in a studio apartment. It can be your office. You can put it all the way down and you and your kids can put together a Lego set or a model. I like this one because I can set 2 different memory heights, so it's always the perfect height with the push of one button. And this thing is super solid. It's made from heavy duty aluminum and it's super easy to put together. As soon as I dumped the screws out to put this thing together, I knew it was a high quality product simply because of the quality of the screws. Let's see if this thing will hold 200 pounds. The other cool thing about this desk is it's super solid. It doesn't move around at all. Look at me, I'm so far up in the air. We'll go back down. Go back doon to 1. Flexi Spot has a whole bunch of different desks to consider. They're all awesome. I like the E7 Pro. It's a 4-leg design. Also have chairs. I'm sitting in one. Heavy duty chairs that can support up to 300 pounds. So go over to flexispot.com and check out what they've got going on over there. Use the code YTE7P50 for $50 off their E7 Pro standing desk. Thank you so much, Flexi Spot, for sponsoring today's video. These have a 1-inch soft dome tweeter, and you will know that notice that this is offset, so it's not right above this driver. This is a 5-inch mid-range driver made from woven Kevlar, and this, my friends, look at it. Ooh yeah, is an 8-inch woven Kevlar woofer. These come in 3 different colors. This one is mahogany, and you get matching stands in mahogany. You can get these in walnut, which is beautiful. My other Lintons upstairs are in walnut. Just a gorgeous speaker. But I will have to say, I wasn't super excited about the mahogany initially, but it's really grown on me. I kind of like it. Adds a little bit of class to my living room. How many iterations of the Linton has there been? I always say Lintons too, where it's just Linton. These are not magnetic. They have posts down here on the actual speaker, and you just, it's hard to do with one hand. Just put them like that. Dink, 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 dink. It made me a little bit nervous initially when I got these off for the first time, because I had to wedge something in there, and just, you know, when you first get something and it's just a little bit tight, I had to wedge something in there and kind of pull them out. Anyway, I did no damage to the speaker though. I would say this is more of a initial impressions. I'm going to go through how I think they're built. Which, spoiler, they're built really, really well. I'm going to go through how they sound, and I'm also going to go through which amps I thought sounded the best with these, because they are a little bit particular about what type of electronics you put on them. There is going to be no direct comparison to other speakers in this video though, but make sure you like and subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a deep dive, another video that really compares the Super Linton to the other Linton that I have upstairs. And then also comparing it to some speakers that may give off similar vibes but are less expensive if you don't have the budget for the Super Linton. So make sure to like and subscribe if you're not. I know like 60% of you watching are not subscribed. You can donate your subscription. It doesn't cost anything. I don't know if it can be deducted on your taxes or not. Not sure. Maybe. Price right now is $2,500. Ported on the back, they have 2 ports, 8-inch woofer, 5-inch mid-range, 1-inch soft dome tweeter, sensitivity of 90 dB. And a lot of people are going to look at that number and think, awesome, this can run off of a tube amp. And in theory, it can run on a tube amp. But I found that the best amp pairing was something that had a little bit of juice. Something that had a little bit of juice with some tone controls too. I had it originally hooked up to this new Cambridge EXA that's coming in at $2,000, so not a cheap amplifier. It just didn't do it for me. I felt like the Linton, Super Linton, was a little bit, I'm not going to say flat, but it just seemed too emphasized in the mid-range. So then I got out my trusty but dusty A10 Classic from Advanced Paris. And I felt like it was a little bit better because we have a couple of things going on with the A10 Classic. So I'm going to do this again. It's going to, a couple of things going on with the A10 Classic. One, you have a Class A bias, which I almost always have turned on. The second thing about the A10 Classic that I love is that it has a loudness control. Now, I didn't get into the tone controls. I didn't mess around with the bass, and I didn't mess around with the treble. But I did turn the loudness control on, and instantly everything got to be 100% better, in my opinion. It was just giving me a sound, giving me the dynamics that I wanted. The OG Linton upstairs, I felt like it was a little bit more dynamic. Well, then it occurred to me too that I haven't been running these very long. So last weekend I was at Capitol Audio Fest and I had these hooked up. So the kids were watching TV and movies with the Super Linton all weekend, which means they probably got another 30 hours on them. When I came back, I felt like they were a little bit more dynamic, but still didn't have that punch on the bottom. Another thing to think about though is that I generally listen at fairly low levels. So I like a speaker to be a bit punchy and dynamic, even around 65, 70 dB. With the loudness control, it brought these things to life at a lower volume. If I turn them up on the Cambridge, they do get more dynamic, but it's just not I like to have that mid-range just a little bit lower than the bottom end and the top end. And that's why loudness controls were really created, because that low end and that top end seem to be overpowered by mid-range at lower volumes on just about any speaker. So the setup that I feel sounds the best at volumes under 75 dB is the Advanced Paris A10 Classic. In future videos, I'm going to be trying it out with a variety of Class D amplifiers, including the new Weem Pro amp, because that amp has a whole bunch of EQ, a little bit warmer Class D amplifier. And since the Super Linton is 90 dB sensitive, it should be a fairly good combination. Let's see if we can get behind here and look at the ports on the back. Can you see that? This is great, isn't it? High production value with the cheap audio, man. All right, so you got 2 ports here on the back, and then some very nice timing codes. And that's pretty much it on the back. Look at these corners, though. One of the coolest things about Wharfedale speakers, especially the Heritage, like the Denton 80th edition, Denton 85th edition, obviously the Linton, the Super Linton. Fundamentally, they're all built the same, right? You have these wonderful beveled edge. I guess it's not beveled edges. You have like these angled edges here. I've been running these mostly with the grills off, at least one of them with the grills off. When I first got them, I had the tweeter on the exterior. So this one was actually the right speaker, and then the left speaker was over here. So the tweeters were on the outside, and you know, it was fine, but I texted one of the guys from MoFi Distribution that distributes Wharfedale and said, where should the tweeters be, inside or outside? He said it doesn't really matter, but most of the time people start with them on the inside, so I did switch them to the inside. And that's when everything really started to take shape. That's when I started to understand what the personality of the speaker was. And with the Advanced Paris, with the loudness on, with the high bias on, and the tweeters facing in, that's when the magic happened. The soundstage on these, and this was the one takeaway I had with the original Linton, or the ones that I have upstairs, is since it's a big speaker, right, you get a different presentation than I get from most of my bookshelves and even tower speakers. What I heard with the Super Linton was a separation of instruments and vocals that I've never experienced before, where it sounded like I had 3 speakers. It actually sounded like I had a center speaker that was not only in the middle, of course, because it's a center speaker, but it was forward of the rear speakers, or the back speakers, the left and right speakers. And that's what it was giving me out of 2 speakers. Even probably arguably poorly recorded, or mediocrely, is that a word? Even recordings that were done in a mediocre way gave me this presentation too. So Shoot to Thrill by AC/DC, the guitars felt like they were good 2 or 3 feet back behind the vocalist. Then I started having the experience where I'm like, what's next? There are 2 type of reviews that happen, or 2 type of videos that happen when I'm listening to a new product. One, I listen to it, run through my regular test track playlist, jot down a few things, put a few different speakers on an amp, or put a few different amps on a speaker, and then call it a day after they've broken in and I've had them going for a while. But then there's another type of video that happens, and that's when I get a product in and it's the magic maker, because I just want to see what's next. What does it do next? Alanis Morissette, Uninvited, the studio recording version and the MTV Live Uncut. I don't know how to really put it into words. It just gives a 3-dimensional presentation. Some of that might have to do with the A10 Classic too, because it does have tubes on the front end. And that might be a good point, because this speaker's not going to sound the same on every amplifier, which most don't, but some kind of do. I was also concerned a little bit about the mid-range and top end, because it never felt unnatural, but it did sound unnatural because I just didn't feel like it had the lower mid-range and the bottom end thump. So I just felt like I needed more richness. And I did, because when I turned on the loudness control, it just changed everything. The thing about the Cambridge, wonderful amplifier, and that's gonna be getting its own video too, but there's no tone controls and there's no loudness control. So you get what you get on that. And since I don't listen super loud all the time, I really think the Linton, in my experience, is gonna benefit from tone controls or loudness control. at lower volumes. The Super Linton reminds me a lot of the Q Acoustic 5000 series. It's not as rich in the mid-range, but I feel like it's slightly more neutral, and I don't feel like this has a British sound or anything. I've heard speakers that sound like this before, but the difference is really the soundstage presentation that the Super Linton gives you versus other bookshelf speakers, tower speakers. I don't know what it is, and if you do know, put it in the comments. Because I love these heritage throwback style speakers, especially a three-way speaker. And I've had a similar experience with the KLH Model 5s, which incidentally, no contest, the KLH Model 5s to me seemed like they were really thin on the bottom. I had to turn the treble mod all the way down. And even when I did that on the Model 5s, I still felt like the top end was a little bit too forward. And with it being an aluminum dome tweeter, it just didn't give me as natural of a sound as I wanted. But for me, I prefer a soft dome tweeter. I just think it feels more natural. When you're looking at something like the JL100, something 100, L100 from JBL, that speaker's coming in at $4,800. So that speaker's $2,400 for a single one. You look at something like the Klipsch Heresy, I think those are coming in at $3,500. So you have these other two classically designed heritage style speakers that are coming in way above the Super Linton's price. There's always a value prop when it came to Wharfedale and their heritage speaker. And I have no idea what the perception of Wharfedale is versus JBL, L100, Klipsch, the Heresy, or the Forte. I have no idea like how people feel about Wharfedale, where they fall in the hierarchy, but I did hear the Heresy here in my house, and I would choose the Linton or the Super Linton over the Heresy every day of the week. The Heresy just didn't resonate with me. What you're getting with the Super Linton is impeccable design. I mean, like next level design, real wood veneer, more bass than you would be getting from a Heresy or a KLH Model 5. And if you get the right amplifier on it, even at lower volumes, you get an incredibly dynamic speaker. Natural tonality in the mid-range and the top end, no sibilance, but the one magic trick that this speaker does is gives you a unique soundstage experience where you really feel like there's definite layering forward to aft, front to back. Really amazing. If you're interested in this speaker, it is running on sale right now. You get the stands for free. It's $2,500 with the stands. If this is a little bit too expensive for you, bear with me. The video is going to be coming out where I go deep dive into the original Linton versus the Super Linton. I think Wharfedale knocked it out of the park with these. Love Wharfedale. It's a speaker that's not going to offend anybody, and if you spend enough time with it, you start to really understand why it's so special. If you want to be part of the best hi-fi community in the world, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. We have patron-only Zooms, patron-only Discord. We do meetups a couple times a year. I will link the Super Linton, the regular Linton in the description. Those are affiliate links. Also, the super thanks button down below if you want to buy me a cup of coffee or something. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu unless you have the Super Linton giving that to you, that information, the audible information. Binge listen with the Super Linton and fill your soul with happiness. With that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.